There is a war. It's happening now. It will decide the fate of humanity. The time to choose sides has come. We are the resistance. We are the InfoWar.
Welcome to the InfoWars Nightly News. It is Friday, September 19th, 2014, and I'm Leanne McAdoo. Here's what's coming up tonight.
Tonight, how New Jersey cops plan to avoid search warrants. Then, what's the vote for Scottish independence rigged? And a nosy neighbor calls the cops for kids playing outside. That's next on the InfoWars Nightly News.
You people are smoking your own dope, believing your own propaganda. You're out of control.
Well, the world watched intently, waiting to see if Scotland would indeed vote for its independence. But by a very narrow margin, Scotland voted to remain a part of the UK. And already we are hearing calls and accusations of vote rigging. This one first is by the head of Russia's election observation body. He sensationally accused the British government in Westminster of rigging the Scottish independence vote, asserting that there were more yes votes than no votes. And this is despite the No campaign claiming victory. And he said that those on the UK side that were campaigning for a no vote resorted to every violation imaginable. Now, as we were all watching, no doubt Westminster propaganda played a great part in the Scots voting to remain in the UK, but there were also many threats being doled out by the central banks. They were threatening to raise the interest rate, which of course you have a lot of Scots who are saddled under extreme mortgage debt already. So even a 1% increase in the interest rate was enough to shock people into deciding to remain there with the UK. But despite a 10% margin of victory for the No campaign in the Scottish referendum, some supporters of the Yes camp are pointing to videos which they claim show evidence of vote rigging. Now, in one of these videos, we can see stacks of what are supposed to be no votes, but they actually show yes votes sitting there in that stack. And then in another video, they purportedly show a vote counter moving votes from the yes pile into the no pile. And then another video appears to show a vote counter filling out ballots. Now, these videos aren't proof, of course, but in an instant like this, where we have a historic vote for independence waiting to take place, slaves voting to break free from Queenie's clutch, well, in the words of Stalin, he says, those who cast the votes decide nothing. It is those who count the votes who decide everything. So it remains to be seen if they will get a recount, as a lot of people there are calling for. Now, in other voting news, both the House and Senate have voted to go along with Obama's plan to arm and train moderate Syrian rebels. Now, the president thanked Congress for the speed and seriousness with which they approached this issue. Democrats are saying that we should expect a broad debate after the midterm elections, and that they're saying that legislation needs to be approved to place broad constraints on how the U.S. military can carry out their operation and to set specific deadlines for the mission's end. Now, current authorization is set to expire December 11th of this year, so it remains to be seen just how much this administration is going to do in the meantime. We have a few months of basic freedom for them to conduct airstrikes and the like. But while we are repeatedly being told by the Department of Homeland Security that ISIS is no threat to us here directly in America and at our border, Democratic Rep. Tim Bishop has another warning. He warned during a recent speech that up to 40 radicalized U.S. citizens who have already left and fought alongside the Islamic State have returned to the United States, where they could pose a terrorist threat. These people, according to Bishop, are currently under surveillance by the FBI. Now, Bishop said during the speech, it is believed that there have been up to 100 U.S. citizens who have left our country to go join up with ISIS. So Bishop is saying there are 40 people currently in the United States who could potentially pose a terrorist threat. They're under FBI surveillance. Would that be the same type of surveillance that the Tsarnaev brothers were under? You'll recall the FBI was looking into them for a few years prior to deciding that they weren't a threat. And then, of course, they went on to carry out the Boston Marathon bombings, allegedly as a lone wolf. So why not round up these alleged ISIS fighters? Isn't that what the NDAA is for? Or is that just for people like you and me? Now, we've seen the FBI blunder these things in the past. So here, if they don't go ahead and round them up, I'm just going to assume that they are setting it up for a false flag terror attack on the United States. You heard it here first.
I began to get into iodine a few years ago because it was helping me and my family so much get healthy and detoxify. I believe our research is conclusive. This is the best iodine out there. And I know this for a fact. Nobody else has got iodine based on these pure crystals, ladies and gentlemen.
For a limited time, experience the ancient power of Survival Shield X2. Take advantage of this unprecedented 30% off Super Detox special at InfoWarsLife.com.